I'm a different change of pace, completely different. So you've been looking, or most of the last 2 days, you've been looking at digging it out of the ground. We're at the other end of the spectrum. We're a physical retailer of gold and silver and platinum and palladium and rhodium. So we look at the other side of it. How many here were here on Monday night? Many? There's quite a few. So that's more the end of the spectrum. We look at the investment side of it. So you've been looking at investing in the companies, you've been looking at the refineries and those types of things. When you want to diversify away from that paper side, that shareholder side, you come along to someone like me, and we look at selling you the physical stuff, actually holding it, without wanting to put anyone in any form of security risk or anything like that. If you're willing, has anyone here actually hold physical gold? Yeah, so quite a number of you. Have most of you here actually held gold in your hand? Not jewellery gold, real 24 carat, 4 9s gold. So quite a number of you. Good. We actually brought samples today. Unfortunately, they're not giveaway samples, but if you actually want to handle some gold, or I think Kate's also got a kilo of silver with her. So if you actually don't know what it looks like, you don't know what it feels like, because it's a real experience to actually hold it. And you can always tell someone that's got a kilo of gold in their hand or in their pocket, because their whole attitude and demeanour changes. They smile a lot more. They're a lot happier. And it's a good feeling. So, and it's only, believe it or not, it's only about the size of your mobile phone, a kilo of gold. So, which is one of the attractions that we'll talk about. I have to drive this thing, don't I? What's next? Hi everyone, Michael from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au. That's right, I'm the guy that you may have heard on YouTube talking about bullion and its place in your investment portfolio. So I own and operate a company called Bullion Now, which is the preeminent bullion dealer, particularly down the east coast of Australia. We supply into the industry precious metals, so gold, silver, platinum, palladium and rhodium to a degree. And that's both to industry, but also, and possibly more importantly, into the superannuation market, but also the individual investor, stacker and collector of those items. So we deal in everything from small bars, a single ounce of silver, all the way through to those larger ones. Now you're right, there are several bullion dealers up and down the east coast. What sets Bullion Now apart, though, I would argue, is the education that we provide. We are very much the education bullion dealer. It's very important to us that whether you're coming in store or whether you're viewing our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/bullion now, we try to provide as much education as we can for people that are coming into the industry, whether they are new people in the industry, whether they are established people in the industry, whether they're investing, whether they're using it as part of their industry. We are there to actually educate and talk through, because the industry as a rule has a history of hiding behind smoke and mirrors at times, and it's difficult, it's challenging to actually find good information that pertains to you. At Bullion Now, we are really trying to get that education out, and also we provide one of the best rates around for buying back bullion, because we don't buy bullion to eat it or to wear it. We absolutely buy it because at some point you're going to want to sell it. You're going to want to, whether it's you or you pass it down through the generations, and then finally it gets sold back. Bullion Now provides that buyback service, and we provide one of, if not the best pricing on that across the whole of the industry. If you happen to be in Melbourne, because we're a Melbourne-based dealer, we are on level 6, 227 Collins Street, right in the centre of Melbourne. And you are more than welcome to come into the store. We operate 9 to 5 Monday to Friday and 9 to 1 on a Saturday. If you're not Melbourne based and you still want to touch base with us, we do have a website, that's bullionnow.com.au. You can also contact us by phone, 1300 84 84 10, and talk to one of the team there. And again, they'll be more than happy to answer your questions. We obviously can't provide financial advice at the end of the day, but we can certainly open up the options to you and discuss them out with you. You can also send us an email, so that would be sales, sales, at bullionnow.com.au, and ask us a question that way, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So enough of the shameless plug. Sit back, relax, take plenty of notes, ask questions. See ya. That's what happens when you ask one of the guys just to put a video together. They pull stuff from 2 years ago when I had a beard. That's all right. So we are very much education focused. We do sell bullion. Obviously, that's how we pay the wages, but our job is really to educate, and I'd like to continue that here. So we have Kate somewhere around here. Kate, not only is she walking around with gold and silver, so she's probably worth mugging, but she also has a microphone, and I encourage you to interrupt me. I encourage you to ask questions. Today's talk is actually on Bitcoin and gold, but I'm quite happy to take... It's unusual that you get a fair shot at a bullion dealer. We usually hide behind bulletproof glass and those types of things, and it's not easy to get near us and actually ask us some of those questions you've always wanted to ask. So even if it's off topic, I'm more than happy to actually take the question, and particularly towards the end, we will have 5 or 10 minutes where you can lob just about anything at me that you want. And like I said, I'll pretty much answer anything these days. So, Bitcoin. For many, many, many years now, people have been telling me, but been telling the world that Bitcoin is just like digital gold. Bitcoin is not just a digital currency, it's a digital form of gold. Now, why would they bother saying that? And one of the reasons why they say it is they're trying to provide legitimacy for Bitcoin. Now, I'm starting to sound like I'm coming across as anti-Bitcoin, anti-cryptocurrency. I'm actually not. I do own some myself. But to call it a digital form of gold, I think really needs pulling apart. Bitcoin is a digital gold. It's a non-sovereign store of value, just like gold. Bitcoin is digital gold because it shares many of the same properties as gold: scarcity, durability, a lack of counterparty risk, but with additional advantages of transferability and security. Really? So let's have a look at that as well. And then we all know the Winklevoss brothers. Bitcoin is a new asset class that's like digital gold. It's a hedge against inflation and a store of value. Is any of this true? No? Well, is it? Isn't it? I don't know. Let's pull some of it apart. Alrighty. Bitcoin is not just a digital currency. It is a digital form of gold. I'm going to move on. I don't like that one. Bitcoin is digital gold. It's a non-sovereign store of value, just like gold. Well, let's pull this apart a bit. Non-sovereign, controlled by outside forces other than government. On the surface, both Bitcoin and gold seem to be free of government influence, but you dig a little deeper and you can see very quickly that the hand of the government is on both of them. I can tell you as a bullion dealer, the compliance requirements that I have placed on me by various departments of the government, not just, we talk about AUSTRAC all the time, but there are a lot of departments throughout the government that want to know exactly what we're doing. And I certainly don't want to go to jail. I'm certainly going to comply with my legal requirements. But obviously we like to minimise that as much as we can. Government activity over gold is very limited because it is untraceable, and that's one of the reasons governments don't like it. A lump of gold, even if it's branded, even if it's got a serial number on it, by applying heat to it, you can remove anything of those lines. You can mix it with other metals. It mixes very easily. It's very malleable. You can change its shape very, very easily. So there's only limited control that a government can actually place onto a gold bar, or a silver bar for that matter. However, Bitcoin, by its very nature, is designed to be, every Bitcoin transaction is designed to be put onto a public forum. It's out there. Best you could say is that it's done under a pseudonym, it's not done under your name, but you can ask any IT guy, and I'll bet there's several people in here that are IT geniuses far more than I am. If you dig a little bit, you can usually, no, you can't usually, you can always attach that pseudonym, that anonymous name that has been used through the transaction, you can always trace that back to a person. So to say that Bitcoin is digital gold, I think is a fallacy in that instant, because it has full oversight, whereas gold has limited oversight. So that's one argument against it. Governments also love to control the transactions, and it's very difficult to control gold transactions. I have a very friendly butcher, he's great, and he takes payment for meat in silver. I'm not saying we don't report it to the government or any of those types of things. I'd never say that in front of the ATO. But those transactions are there. It's a recognised form of currency between the two of us. I have a Sparky that comes in, did some work on our house. He's quite happy to take payment in gold, more than happy. So those transactions can occur very easily. It's a very, and we'll talk about it again in a minute, but it's a very easily transferable asset. Bitcoin is far more monitored, as we said earlier, but there's a lot of governments that have actually made it illegal to do a transaction in Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. China being the obvious one, but also Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. There's about a dozen different countries that have said, actually, thou shalt not do transactions in cryptocurrencies. So to say that Bitcoin is a non-sovereign store of value, I think he's missing the point, because it is very much controlled by forces within our governments around the world. Store of wealth, or in that case they've called it store of value, just like gold. So to store wealth, it can be a commodity, it can be an asset, currency that maintains value without depreciation. I don't know if gold fluctuates in price, exactly the same as Bitcoin. Silver fluctuates in price. Silver's far more dynamic with its pricing. It's a lot like the hyperactive younger brother of gold, because it does bounce up and down quite a lot. But overall, over time, gold is fairly stable. It moves from the bottom left of the chart to the top right. Yes, it takes some dips over time, but if you go onto a site like goldprice.org, it will actually give you and I meant to reproduce it up here and I apologise that it's not going to appear, but it'll actually show you the returns in various currencies over the last 15 years. And you can see there that over the last 15 years, in Australian dollar terms, gold has returned 7.4% year in, year out. Now, some years it's been 22%, some years it's been negative, I think it was 6%. But there's only 2 or 3 years in that whole 15-year period that it's ever gone negative over the year. So it's a fairly stable store of wealth over time that will respond to inflation. I don't think you could call Bitcoin stable in any form. It has drawdowns. It's had multiple drawdowns of in excess of 80%. That is not a stable store of wealth. Yes, it's gone up again, and that works really well until you need to sell it when it's dropped 80%. I think the largest drawdown is 89%. That really hurts. I wouldn't call that a store of wealth. I also wouldn't call it a store of wealth when it does the other, and we've all seen it. You know, it's gone from, the last one I think it went from $80-something thousand, I think in Australian terms, and it dropped down to about, $25,000. I don't know the exact numbers. You guys probably know more than I do about it. And it went back the other way. We're now back up trading around $100,000 Australian per Bitcoin. There's no stability in that. That's not a stable store of wealth or value.
All right, the next one. Bitcoin is digital gold because it shares many of the same properties as gold. Scarcity, durability, lack of counterparty risk. Additional advantages. Bitcoin has additional advantages in terms of transferability and security. Because something's scarce, does that mean it's got value? I can tell you, and my kids and my dog and my wife will certainly attest to the fact that there is a scarce number of my old socks kicking around. It doesn't make them worth anything. Scarcity on itself means nothing. You've got to have more than scarcity. You've got to be able to, yes, we want scarcity, yes, we want limited numbers, but you've got to be able to do something with that. Otherwise, it's worthless, it's pointless. Gold can't be replicated. You can't stick it in a photocopier. You can't just press a button and print more. This whole weekend has been, it's not a weekend, sorry, these last 2 days have been all about the difficulties of, I've got an exciting reading on my map, I'm going to dig down X number of metres, tens of metres, hundreds of metres, and I'm going to pull out grams of gold. We go to that effort, we spend that much money, millions and millions and millions of dollars to produce this shiny stuff called gold, and silver's the same. You can't just turn on the printing press. Cryptocurrencies, you can. Bitcoin's a limited number, but even that, they've broken it down into smaller components. Durability. We still have almost every gram of gold that's ever been mined, ever been produced, back to the Aztecs and even further. It's still in existence. Thousands of years of durability, and it's still there every day, day in, day out. Bitcoin is only as durable as the system behind it. Now, it does have a durability behind it. You can absolutely see that. But it's only got about 15 to 20 years of evidence of durability. And I can tell you, there's a lot of people that have had their computers destroyed, their cold wallets, things like that have been lost, and they've lost their asset. Back when we had the fires go through Victoria, and it was very sad, and I'm not making light of any of this, so don't take it that way. But we had, after the fires, we had people that had gold and silver in their safes at home or wherever it was. The fire had gone through, destroyed the house. The temperature inside the vault had got into insane temperatures. I mean, people were literally evaporated, not in the last ones, but in the ones before, and all that was left was a shadow on the ground. They brought in this lump. We had several customers do it. They brought in this lump of mess. It was black, had sticks sticking out of it, it had ash all through it, the whole box and dice. We sent it down to the refinery, and within a week came back brand new, shiny gold and silver bars. That's durability. Counterparty risk. So counterparty risk is looking at the other person on the other side of the transaction. How safe are they? Both have pluses and minuses on this. You know, I can tell you tales of customers where they've tried to do a deal outside of the norm. You know, dealing, and yes, I have a biased opinion here because I'm a bullion dealer, but they'll do their transactions outside the norm, and they will end up. We had one guy end up in the boot of a car being driven around Melbourne for a couple of hours. They dropped him off at St Kilda and relieved him of both his cash, but more importantly, his gold as well. So there is definitely counterparty risk on both sides if you chase different scenarios. Transferability, this is the big one. Bitcoin says, we're transferable, completely transferable. We can do it straight away. I can tell you, Bitcoin's probably slightly easier, although you have to have a medium to transfer them through. Gold is very, very, very transferable. You walk into our store, you put your gold down on the counter, within a few minutes you're walking out the door with a fistful of dollars. It's very transferable. I go down to the butcher and I buy meat. I hand over some silver. He hands me the meat. I walk out the door. Very simple transaction. I go to Germany every year every year I can except COVID. Every year we go over to Germany, we go to the World Money Fair over there. I don't muck around with doing foreign exchange at the airport, getting my euros, all that sort of stuff. Take an ounce of gold with me. I go over to Germany, I walk into the bullion dealer over there, and they are literally on every street corner in Berlin. I hand them over, they hand me euros in exactly the same amount that I paid for in Australia, because the price is known around the world. It's traded minute to minute, day to day, 23 hours a day, 5 days a week, all the way around the world. And what we pay for it in Australia, in Australian dollars, is exactly what they're paying for it in euros in Germany, and in yen in China, and in British pounds when you're in the UK. So it's a very simple way of transferring your wealth and your funds into local currencies without having to pay transfer fees, without getting ripped off by foreign exchange fees and all those types of things. So I would argue that they don't have, yes, they can probably do it quicker, you know, push of a button, it's zipped to the other side of the world, but gold's not far behind it. Security, mate, anything's as secure as you want to make it. Best form of security, whether you're holding Bitcoin or whether you're holding gold, is not to tell anyone about it. And we all know that, and we promote that quite a lot. But they both have similar levels of security and insecurity. Bitcoin is a new asset class, and like digital gold, it's a hedge against inflation and a store of value. I struggle with this one again about a hedge against inflation. Gold absolutely is a hedge against inflation. We can prove that for the last 5,000 years. It's always matched inflation. I did a talk last year, same conference here, and we've done it on YouTube as well, where we took the average price of a house in Melbourne in 1971, $13,500. We slapped 15 grand down on the counter. The same time you could buy 330 ounces of gold because gold was $40 an ounce, so we put 330 ounces down on the counter to visually show it. You go onto YouTube, you can see this. In 2020, we got the average price of a house in Melbourne was $900,000. So your 15 grand wasn't going to pay stamp duty, never mind actually buy the house and a bit of furniture at the end. We got a bit of pushback on that. People said, well, I wouldn't leave it under the mattress, I'd put it in the bank. Fantastic. Let's average it out. Let's say you get 7% return on it over those years. That turns out, I can't remember the exact number now, but it turns it into about $78,000. Still barely going to cover your stamp duty, certainly in Victoria. We love taxing people down in Victoria. Either taxing you or locking you up, either way. We go both ways. 78 grand, still not going to do anything for you. In 2020, 330 ounces was just over 900 grand. It would still buy your average house in Melbourne. Same numbers work in Sydney, same numbers work in Coober Pedy. It doesn't matter where you are. The numbers will work over time. Gold is a hedge against inflation. Bitcoin, as I said before, we've got an 84% drawdown, you've got an 87% drawdown, you've got a 77% drawdown, a 94% drawdown, but that was in 2011, so that's pushing my luck a little bit, 53% during COVID. If you've got those sort of drawdowns, that's not a hedge against inflation. Not ever. So, is Bitcoin a digital gold? Not yet. I would say it has the potential for it, but it's not there yet. The volatility is still too great in Bitcoin, way too great in Bitcoin. The acceptance of it, the knowledge of it, we all know about it, but how many people in this room actually know how to do a Bitcoin transaction? Way less than the number of people that stuck their hand up and actually said, I hold physical gold. Never mind the fact that the people in this room know how to invest in gold mining companies. Any questions? I've only got a couple of minutes left. I think there's a microphone coming down.
Thanks, Michael. I don't think Bitcoin will ever be gold. And the reason why I think it will never be gold, I think the elephant in the room is information asymmetry. So if you pick up a bar of gold and you put it on an XRF, you know it's 24 karat gold, you know the spot price, and you know how much it's worth.
Yep.
I doubt whether not many people in this country truly understand blockchain technology. Not many people truly understand when people blurt out there's only a limited number of Bitcoins that can ever be mined. How many people on this planet understand the process of mining Bitcoin? So my point is that information asymmetry doesn't exist with gold. It exists with diamonds because you got carat, clarity, cut, all that stuff. And that's why I like gold. I know it is what it is and it's worth what it's worth. Bitcoin, I don't understand, so I will never touch it. I'll gamble with it like I would here at Crown Casino, just put some money on it and play the trends. But it will never be gold for me, and I don't think it'll ever be gold for most people because most people don't understand it.
I would agree with the statement, definitely. Anything else? Yeah. We'll see how quickly we can get her over there because I've only got a minute.